Hi, I'm Tom Hughes of Third Digital, and today we're going to talk about startup, software development, and outsourcing.
Welcome to ProfileTree TV, and today we're joined by Tom Hughes from Third Digital. So thank you very much for coming in and having a chat with us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and what you do.
Well, we'll start with myself first. Although in the last few years I've been in software development, it's been a long story. I'm a young man, obviously. But more than
like us all.
yeah, few grey hairs. More than 20 years in mechanical engineering.
Wow.
10 of those all in automotive supply chain. A few years in general industrial, and then I had 10 years in industrial hydraulics, very specialised market, and worked all over the world. Speak a couple of languages. My last outfit, I was lucky enough to own a few percent of it during the journey, and we grew that to a couple of $100 million business, 16 geographical locations, and we sold that to Parker Hannifin, who are a big listed American company, in 2013. So that takes us into how I got into software. So from there, total change of lifestyle. Instead of flying more than 200 times a year, which was I was doing for 10 odd years, wanted to spend more time with my family and do more based here type things. I ended up mentoring some startups and other businesses, invested in one or two. And then in 2015, I thought I'd have my own product startup. So that's what started where I'm at. And we did a product called Jumble Fund. It was basically Gumtree crossed with Just Giving. It was my first foray into tech startup world. And we were using Northern Ireland developers. I had some technical advisors. Everything was great. The project fixed part of it was over, and we wanted to sort of work and develop the product, and then it was just a complete nightmare in terms of time as well as cost. And by that stage, I had a tech guy on our team, a guy called Damien O'Hare, who still works with me in Third Digital. He'd worked with an Indian guy on a few projects for a number of years. We started to give him little bits of work. Within 6 months, we'd set up a company of our own that Damien, myself, and Sagar Bhavsar own in India. And today we've got 20 developers in Ahmedabad and Gujarat. We've worked on another couple of our own products, but since August of this year, I've really been focusing on selling our development capability, especially to startups. Because that's what we know about.
Yeah.
So we do web apps in PHP Laravel primarily, and we build native mobile apps in Java and we're Swift, Java and Swift, and we're doing some work in Kotlin now. Amazing. But so that's where we're at.
Too many software disciplines to
well, and the other thing is it's not my core. I'm a very fast learner. I'd say that about myself, and I can converse and take customer requirements and translate that for the team. But still on a weekly basis, it's like, I have blonde moments where the tech guys are going, "How did you not understand that?"
Don't we all?
But we're learning and we're getting better every week.
Amazing. So you've been running then the software company now for a couple of years now.
Yeah, well, we were focused on our own product, which is great experience to share with other startups because, our products have not been stellar successes, but we've been on one of Europe's best startup accelerator programs. We actually won the program. We have made so many mistakes ourselves that we're quite proud about.
Yeah, because that's
how we learn. Like I used to joke when I was in industrial hydraulics, I won't swear on camera, but if you learn by your screw ups, let's say, then I'm a genius. And really, that's how I feel about where we're at. I don't describe myself as a genius where we're at, but we're on a really steep curve, and we can share our experience authentically with other startups to stop them doing the same silly things that we've done ourselves, because we've been on both sides of the table.
Yes, I'm with you there. Tell me about it. So
that's and it's really good fun, and it's nice to get up every morning and genuinely be serving other people in a good way, and I'm very proud of it.
Amazing. And you're working with many companies here now, or some companies here
Yeah,
now?
we've got, I'm sure the guys won't mind me mentioning, we're working with a few well-known startups here.
Very-
So we've GoFit are just been coming off the Propel program. They won the second place on their demo nights at Propel. Great team, and we're really excited to be working. We're doing a complete rebuild of their site.
Wow.
Food Safe Systems, another one that we're on Propel. We're working with the guys from Team FeePay. We've just built them an app that we're equity partners with them in.
Amazing.
It's a sports-based app, and I'm pretty confident it's going to get a lot of publicity in the next couple of months. The guys are going to do some market tests this coming weekend with some well-known clubs here in Belfast.
Incredible.
So they're just people in Northern Ireland. We're working with London-based startups. We're doing some subcontract work for a well-known development house here they're in the south here. And we've worked with plans. Before we started really focusing on selling our development, we had an accidental project with a company based out of New York.
Wow.
Really big project. It really sustained us for the guts of a year.
Incredible.
And where else? A couple of Dutch customers as well.
Amazing.
So
how did you find all the customers from Ireland to London?
I
You're
love
on the
all
road.
that. Well, like you see, because that's my whole background. And if you'd asked me 6 or 7 years ago, what am I really good at? It would be, I empathise well with customers. Always have done, whether it's customers, suppliers. I'm not emotional about those things. Even if other people are emotional, I can take all that out of it.
Very good.
And really get to what you need.
Yeah.
And then we'll focus on doing that. And so I can do that with all different cultures.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing to do.
Of course.
Especially with the Dutch, if any of them are watching.
Of course.
Because they would laugh about that themselves. They're very direct people. You know when a Dutch person's not happy.
It's alright,
Yeah, you definitely do.
Wow.
And I like that about them.
That's
So,
good, yeah, at least you know
There's no hypocrisy there.
Amazing. Cultures around the world are incredible.
That's great.
And you have to know, if you're dealing with a culture, you have to know and understand it, or else you're in trouble.
You really do.
You've been to India then loads? Or?
Yeah. I joke with people, I'm sort of half Hindu. That's not
how much you're out
really
there.
a joke. Because I'm really into Indian spirituality as well. So I would meditate for a couple hours a day, and I have done for years.
Jealous.
And I follow an Indian guru, for example.
Amazing.
So my long-term plan is to live in India for at least 6 months of the year. Once my kids are up, that's our plan, is to go live there. So that's part of why we have the company in India. So, but the thing is, whilst I love working with them, genuinely, it shouldn't be a secret that it's a real cultural gap between Western people and Eastern people. And I wouldn't recommend to any startup or even a grown-up company to outsource direct to India without a lot of homework. And that's part of the value we add. Because say, for example, you go on the internet and you find a development house, or you answer one of those emails that everybody gets, they have house in India.
Gosh, my word.
Nightmare. You're going to have a disaster. And that's what gives India a bad name. And it's not just the Indians' fault. It's because the people on the other side of the coin that are trying to manage the project don't know how to communicate properly with somebody that's in a very different culture and a very different way of communicating than we have. So we've been working with our team for 3 years odd now. We still facepalm on a regular basis. Oh my God, how did they think that? Literally. And we're doing that for 3 years with the same people. So can you imagine if you're just coming off the street and you're trying to do that with a complex project, complex requirements? Software developments can be a journey where you don't know till you encounter an issue that it's there. Do you understand? Yeah. Somebody changes another piece of software, an API is different. iOS decides to make an update and now that doesn't work. All those things really can be pressurized, stressful things. If you're not used to dealing with those people, they're very laid back. Indians, you hardly ever encounter an Indian being angry. Wow. No, seriously, they're so much more calm and placid. That's a generalization. Sorry if anybody thinks that's a stereotype. That's my own experience. Where we can interpret that as they don't really care. if you're the typical Western guy that's going, my site's down, and you're going crazy, and the Indian guy's going, it's okay, we will solve it. That can cause all kinds of problems. Yeah. So you see what I mean? I'm just giving an example.
That's a good
like
example, yeah.
So we're very good at all that,
yeah.
and that's what we do. And so we're more expensive than if you went direct to India, but you won't have all those issues.
Brilliant.
And you're going to have somebody who you culturally relate to. All the advantages of working with a Northern Ireland or European-based house, but a lot more flexibility. Like, just to really get that, I'd love to just boil that down. Because I'm very open with our customers how our business model works.
Yes.
We basically charge 3 to 4 times what we pay our Indian company. So if we quote your work and say we quote that it's 30 man days for the crack, it's a 10 odd grand euro project.
Yeah.
If we slip that 5 days, it's not that big a deal for us. With our multiplier, we can live with that.
You can.
Yeah.
You can.
You know,
You're covered.
Yeah, we can cover that. Where if you're based here and your project timings, now that guy that you've got sitting here in Belfast that you normally charge out at 600 quid a day,
It's painful.
now you've ran over by 5 days.
Yeah.
And now the customer might throw in some other wee thing that maybe was the edge of the scope.
Yeah.
You as a supplier are now getting aggressive or putting dark lines into the project. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
Well, we've got a lot more freedom that way. So that's a big advantage. You know, so that coupled with our experience going forward, if people want to have maintenance agreements with us, we can practically dedicate a person to a particular startup for not big money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where the longest lead time we've had to get a developer was 3 months. Whereas here, the resource availability
Good
and
luck.
you know, so
It's not gonna happen,
it's a
yeah.
complete, even where we're located as far as India goes, Ahmedabad's the 6th biggest city in India.
Wow.
So it's not, in software terms, it's not Bangalore. Everybody's heard of Bangalore.
Yeah.
Bangalore would be double cost base to what we have in Gujarat. And availability is far better where we are because Indians don't really travel very much.
Wow.
So
Just stay at home.
ordinarily a Gujarati will stay in Gujarat. They don't really want to go away. They're very, very family. I would actually say that's an international thing. Generally, people don't want to emigrate unless they have to. So we've got a lot of advantages even in Indian terms. That's a total accident, by the way, how that happened. But now that we're there, we can see that.
Amazing. And just when we're talking about India, we could maybe talk about the culture a little bit. So obviously one thing I know is when you're probably, again, you'll tell me if I'm right or wrong, you're asking for something to be done and you're always told yes.
Yeah, they really struggle to say no. That's very true. Yeah.
Oh.
And when you're face to face, it's easier to tell because generally the head will start going depending on where they're from. But like my experience, I'm sort of very conscious that maybe Indian people watching this, I'll go, oh my God. But my experience is the head will go, you know, so they'll be going, yes, yeah. And the head will be going like that. And you learn with experience to know when they really mean no. But yeah, even now, I still have to work with our team to get them to tell me no. You might have to ask the question 3 or 4 times. And that's back to my earlier point.
Knowing the culture.
Knowing the culture, because if you're not used to that, then you'll just go, oh, they said they could do it and they didn't, but they never actually really meant, they just didn't want to offend you.
And that's the thing. We're talking about startups and the risks around developing your software out and getting it wrong. That is a bit of a risk for any startup.
It's a bit of a risk even for large enterprises. But like the thing, okay, I meet, thank God, it's someone I really love doing. I meet so many startups now, and if I love being part of helping them not make mistakes. So like typical things that an unscrupulous developer will do with a startup is like the project starts being, for example, they get a tech start grant here in Northern Ireland of 10 grand. it's rare that that'll stay like 10 grand. So like it'll be 10 grand and then, oh, we want this feature, that feature, the other feature. And that's where you have two issues. The 10 grand, spend it on a core validated MVP that's only it's representative enough to be an actual product, but slim enough to do what the core things you're trying to validate very well. And what happens too often, people do beautiful looking websites with no real proper functionality going on. That's a real Northern Ireland phenomenon from what I've actually seen with lots of startups. You're better off doing something that's fast, quick, success or failure as quick as you can. That's would be my advice to any startup. And get it in front of customers and users and be a bit messy. We're perfect for that. We really are, because we can be so quick. Design is not our strong point, and I wouldn't tell anybody it is. Very, very difficult to find Western standard designers in India. Like, so I'm a strong believer in having good integrity, so I'm not going to tell somebody, we'll do your fashion website. We're not the guys for that. Right? So
that's good. You're very straight up on that. That's so brilliant,
we could, if that kind of thing came up and it had a decent gutsy bit of software behind it, we'd get that designed locally here, and then we would do the back end where we are. So like, but keeping that really simple, it's fast, fail fast, succeed fast, and then customer validation. That's all what that's all about.
And that's what startups is all about as well. Like it is, without a doubt, get it out there, get it tested.
And what most people underestimate is like when that software developer says to you that's 3 months and it ends up being 6. All right, maybe you pay them the same. What about your burn rate for that extra 3 months that you should have been finding customer information out? You're sitting there twiddling your thumbs. That's costly. And that can kill startups just as easy as the bad tech and the not very good MVP.
Because startup land's very tough. It's amazing.
No, I know. I thank God I do know it from all angles.
Which is unusual actually, because you've done it.
And the other thing, I'm like, we're still, I make no secret about it, we're still on the quest for our own product. And it might be our current project clicks help, maybe it isn't, but that understanding all the issues that you can have and the false yeses and the false flags that make you think this is good, when really, like, it's, you can have problem solution fit and a really bad product. And most people view that lean startup process as sequential. It's taught that way, even if it isn't meant to be that way. So people think problem solution fit, then product market fit. No, I'd argue you can do the two things together. You don't have to wait to see if your problem solution fit is there to understand, is this a product? Because if you're sitting around spending, like, as we have done in our experience, spending guts of 6 months doing problem solution fit and then realizing actually, the great solution, not a product. That's a waste of time. And all those wee things, they're not things we charge people for.
Amazing.
So we've no model that does that consultancy, but like when it comes to working with customers that we have with their digital, that's all part of the service. What do you do,
Amazing.
And I'd rather somebody spend $5,000 with us now and not 10. $5,000 well spent. Fail fast if you need to. That's a better thing to do, in my opinion, than taking 10 off them now and they die. And they're another gravestone in startup land. So like I want to be associated with success stories in the long run. So
actually, if that happens, then they're talking about you, the positive as opposed to.
And like even now, like we're just because I mentioned we're short in the selling the development space. Like we've 2 apps just going on. One just got on the App Store yesterday with the FeePay guys. We're going to test that, but another one that'll be going on the App Store before Christmas, which is really complex for one of the Dutch customers. Like we're gonna update our website to have live testimonials, and I'm intending to have that as an ongoing thing, not like one we did last year. Here's the 3 out of 10 happy customers we have. It's like listing live projects. And just, there they are. Yeah. That's who we're working with.
And go check them.
Go check them. Talk to the lads. Not ones we worked with last year, like ones we're actually working with now. And again, like say if you're a startup, like it's funny story. One of our customers we have because a competitor used a reference of another startup, and whenever the guy answered the phone, he laughed. Whenever they called him to say, to know about their services, because their services were so atrocious. If you follow me,
yeah.
Do you get me? Like you must have a fairly bad customer list if the one that you selected as a reference thinks you're awful.
Yeah.
That doesn't say a lot about you as an outfit. So I would advise startups that if you're about to engage with a developer, do your due diligence in terms of who are you working with now, not the 2 years ago project and your mate. That's the reference.
It's a partnership, isn't it? It's not because there's so much vested in this relationship that between you and the company, the customer, the startup. Yeah. It's so important that relationship is amazing, and that you get off the right start.
It's just doing good selection, because like everybody will act like your mate when you meet them. Like who's not going to do that? But I'm amazed at the amount of startups that don't even talk to more than one developer. Yes. It's crazy. Even if you're going to buy a new car, do you just go to one dealer? You basically think, what's the market price for this thing that I'm going to buy? Yeah. Try to understand that. But too many people get into this Stockholm Syndrome feeling of, these are my friends, what would they possibly... And it's really naive. So like, to me, even I wouldn't paint out... Our interests are... I have my own interests, you have your interests. I'm not going to... We bring them together as best we can, and we might even be friendly outside the project. But it's professional. We shouldn't have any other expectations than that. But I see that a lot of young and old startups have this idea that these people are just my friends doing me favours, and that's, in my own experience when I meet people like that, it's never the case. The guys are just good sales guys. So
I'm thinking back, I've been sold a few times. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
To think about it. So what's your process then if you meet a new startup, you what's the kick-off then?
It's good because it can be so many different situations, because we do clean sheet projects, we do existing tech stacks, we take them over and add features and build onto them and maintain them and all that. And then occasionally, and this is my preferred part of the business I'd like to grow, we hire engineers out to teams. So we have people sitting in our office working on somebody else's project. And I love that. To me, bluntly, it's very attractive from my point of view, because I have minimal management involvement.
And the startup managers then, or the company managers.
So basically, we need a guy in .NET, for example.
For a month or two.
Yeah. And we've had one guy working for nearly 18 months for a single company now. And our guys would really interact with him a couple of times a month properly. And the rest of the time he's managed by a guy sitting here in Northern Ireland. And but the advantages are amazing for that. They're getting, because that guy did some work for us on another project before that situation arose. And he is an amazing developer. That guy is nearly 12 years experience.
Wow.
And if you were paying him here, you couldn't find people like that. And two, what you'd be paying him. And we're charging him out it works out roughly about $3,000. We're charging him out at a month. And we're able to make that a sustainable business out of that. Where we can find that kind of resource if somebody wants it within 2 or 3 months. So to me, if I was a product startup based here in Northern Ireland, I think a great model is get your core technical officer, your policeman of tech, if you like, that sits here in Northern Ireland with you, with your marketing guys, your core team. But why are you commodity coding in Belfast? Sorry, I think that's ridiculous.
Especially, I understand why you're talking about, because especially a startup, because actually You just need to ship something to check that the business model works.
And even if you're scaling up, though, I'd challenge that. With the resource availability we have here,
it's very tough.
And you being a startup and you're competing against big foreign direct investment coming in with far bigger salaries than you have, and all of that perks that go with it, that's a tough ask. So to me, get your core CTO guy. Why are you trying to scale up? Like, you could, to me, it's just my opinion, scale around your core competence guy and let him build that team, and get your own Indian CTO and build that team out there under our auspices that we can help you with all the usual problems that you would have had if you tried to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Do you follow me? So to me, that's a good model. Not trying to do that on your own if you don't have the experience. That's definitely not a good model. But if you get my point, hopefully that's come across.
No, you can focus then on the business. What your core.
And you've got easier resource availability, lower costs, scale better. You're still keeping your policeman, if you like, capability around quality of build and all of that. Although I would challenge people that that's way overestimated. You know, Indian build's not good. That's absolute nonsense in my own experience of what we do. There's more quality problems in my own experience here in Northern Ireland.
So we were talking about Springboard earlier, so you would mind tell us a little bit.
Just coming from a Springboard mentoring meeting this afternoon. Wow. I have this, it's basically Springboard's run by Catalyst Inc. Here in Northern Ireland, and it's really good. The cream of Northern Ireland startups go through that program. It's like a accelerator into market, help them get funding often as part of that process. So initially I was a panel member because they have various reviews as part of that process. And now I do some entrepreneur in residence mentoring for one of the startups, and it's just, I get every bit as much as I give because there's some very clever people around the table. So today I was really helping our startup about the operations side, and they've got a physical product. It's a domestic electrical appliance, and my earlier background, as I mentioned, was all mechanical parts and engineering and supply chain and all of that. So I was back in that world for a while today. So it's great for a networking perspective as well. And within the Northern Ireland scene, I get to meet so many influential people as well. Build my own credibility here too. So
and since we're talking about startups, I'm sure you've got a lot of advice for startups who are maybe having a tough time or struggling at the moment. What would be your top tips, or what's your thoughts?
Well, it depends on where they're at and what the problem is, but in my own experience and working with other people as well, you've got really three main areas of problems. Cash.
Cash.
Cash, business development, and product execution. Now, you could argue that cash is a function of the other two, but cash is generally a problem for every single early stage company. And the business development side, like in my own experience, what I find is you've got startups that are either very techy or very business developy. So you get guys that can sell all day long, but their tech's awful, and guys that are really techy but can't make eye contact with the customer.
Very good.
So
it's very rare that you see one in between that has a little bit.
And it's very, very rare. So that's where I'm saying cash, product execution, and business development. Those are generally the issues. So, like, the key thing is, pretty much every problem that a startup has can be put into one of those areas. The next thing is get some help. So what I see people making mistakes on, so say you are the guys who can't make eye contact with a crack. Get somebody who can sell into your team. And not just sell. If I evaluate a startup when I'm looking at it to work with, or maybe even invest, it's not have they got domain experience, which is the typical question people ask. I don't see that as important at all. It's have they got experience of selling into that domain and getting traction? Because if they haven't got that, they could work in the hotel sector, for example. Yeah, I've managed hotels my whole life. Great, you know all about managing hotels. But I have a product that I'm going to sell into the hotel sector. Have you ever sold product into the hotel hospitality sector? You don't have relevant domain experience then.
Yeah.
So to me, go get that experience, real hard, knock the door, not social media sales. Like, that's another mistake I see all the time.
Are you kidding me? Social media?
Oh no, we're going to get our customers by Google, pay-per-click and social media and
by tweeting.
No, you're definitely not. And so that's one big area. The tech area, this is another big mistake I see common. We've got somebody techie in our team. Right, okay. And generally there'll be your mate who's got the biggest job in tech that you know.
Yeah.
So this will be some guy that hasn't seen a line of code in 10 years.
If ever.
If ever. He now works in a big company. Like a big software firm or a big techie company or a big bank or something like that. He's used to operating in that environment. Not in this little, I've got 10 grand to spend and I need to spend it wisely. Totally different. Irrelevant, I would go as far as to say, experience. Have they got fingernail dirt, recent dirt? And have they got like some experience that is relevant to where you're at?
Yeah, very good.
That to me, and I've seen, this is my perception, I've seen potential clients of Third Digital make mistakes in that area. We didn't end up being their partners because they had inappropriate advice. We were well-meaning suppliers giving them solutions. They didn't go with us in the end, but genuinely, I think, guys, you really messed up there. Where the direction you're going in was they over-trusted their advisor and didn't go with what they originally wanted to do. We were dying to work with them on delivering the original MVP of that particular project. What they're going to spend that money, not have anything close to an MVP, a bit more of a proof of concept, but not really be much further down the road. And we were annoyed for ourselves and them on that particular case. But the root cause of that, like a lot of problems are, as I joked with you before we were on camera, there's no such thing as a technical problem, it's people problems. That's an example.
So you mean that in that phrase, you mean that technical, code's all fine.
No, it's not that. You can have really awful code. It's not the code's fault. That's a people issue. Yeah, you've got the wrong. Your code's not doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah,
it's not the code's fault. It's and it might not even be the coder's fault.
Yes.
What was he given? What was his direction? What was his specification? What was he supposed to do? Was it clear what you wanted? Like, and again, for startups, we're learning ourselves, but something weird because we've had to, let's say, bite the bullet on some projects where the scope wasn't clear enough, and we delivered the project, but it was really, really not profitable. We didn't lose money on it, but we did far more work than we intended to do when we took the project on. So very often startups don't scope out the project properly, so there's far too many gaps to interpret, and it leaves us as a supplier very exposed. Because we're going, well, we didn't really think that was in scope, but it's not very clear that that's not in scope. So now we're doing things like we list the APIs we're doing for you. And if it's not on that list, then that's a scope change. And it's down to our customer to go, are they the APIs that you're expecting to get? Because, simple little thing like we were doing one recent project where it had a calendar appointment part of the functionality. It was an iOS Apple application. We'd quoted to do that native on the Apple calendar, and they wanted Google and Microsoft Outlook. Roughly another week work when it comes into fully integrating and doing all that. And we were naive, we let that drift through, but when we're making new proposals now, we have a really robust checklist. If it's not clear in the specification, we'll ask or we'll say what the assumption is.
Because you're
but right. That the both parties suffer from that.
And so back to the relationship, you want to maintain the relationship and make sure everyone's happy for
get
both
it nice
parties.
and professional and clarity. Because you think about most business problems. Again, I'd say, and it's like not a cliche, is because of lack of clarity that people get upset. It's because I thought I was getting this from you, and I thought I was giving you that. Very, very rarely does somebody actually deliberately mislead you. Do you follow me?
Yeah. So
it's just about getting nice clarity around that, and we're learning that with every proposal we put together. That's helpful for both.
Yeah, for everyone, and getting the guidance to create that proposal, make sure it's very clear, because that is important. And you're probably asking questions to the startup that they didn't even think of, and helping them define what their business model and the software is going to do.
It's quite common for us to come, somebody's got an idea and we don't even have a user flow to quote rough idea of functionality and so on. So like now in new proposals, it's here's our assumed user flow.
Wow.
This is what we think you want. This is the kind of number of screens we're looking at. Here's the APIs we're going to integrate for you. We're going to have this dependency. For example, I just like being open. We implemented Twilio for a customer recently. Best intentions. If anybody knows Twilio, it's an SMS and messaging service that if any bit of software is sent, you receive an SMS, probably Twilio that's being used.
Wow.
And we looked at the main countries for implementation, and it's $1 per phone number is sent per text. But actually, when you look at some of the less well-known countries, the costs are way more than that.
Wow.
And we, as the tech guys, didn't think was that we told you we're using Twilio, and we told you what the costs are in the UK. We haven't done the rest of Europe and everything else. So when we do proposals from now on, because we didn't feel like we'd done anything untowards, but like in our proposals, we're using these APIs. It's up to you to do your own commercial due diligence on what the costs are associated to them. Yeah. So like all learning, but all about getting more professional, and that's something I'm into.
And you can't be responsible for all of these business decisions. You need the startup to.
But it's helping them to, even when we write our proposal and it gets that kind of leap out proviso line in it. Not many people are naive enough to go, all right, well, we'll just leave that then. No, most people will be triggered to go and look now. And that's their responsibility as a startup, but maybe they didn't realise that they should do that. So so at the end of the day, it's all about getting that nice clarity before you kick the project off, and not like 12 weeks later, oh my God, we didn't realise it cost that much.
So, but still, and we talk about this, and it's very interesting to hear some of the challenges that startups can face and how you can alleviate them by good setup and process. You'd still advise people to start a startup or start their own business?
Well, this is the thing. I'd say that it depends again. It's like, I would say to people, there's different kinds of fear. There's, am I scared of doing that? There's irrational fear that's all about personal insecurities, and I have this self-image. It means I could never do something like that. And anybody like that, get rid of that. Those are unhealthy things. That's not good for you to have those things. But realistically, looking at the thing that you're intending to give your next year or two of your life to, don't do that lightly. I would caution anybody, give your day job up at the very last opportunity that you can. Talk to proper customer validation would be my thing. It's like you're taught on any accelerator program, your friends and family, everybody will tell you it's brilliant.
Yes, that's the problem.
They call ugly baby syndrome. There's actually even a term for it. So nobody will say your baby's ugly. And it's actually hard to get real, actual, candid feedback. Yeah. So before you're going to do your thing that's going to revolutionize the world, make sure you've got some reliable validation. Yeah. And the other one, somebody I really respect, software development here in Ireland, said to me once, the amount of people that come to him and say they're going to disrupt industry X for less than the price of a decent second-hand car, I'd be kind of skeptical about that as well.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. That sounds like I'm not one of the personal development motivation book reading people. I was like that. I have a different set of books I read now, but I think it's just being realistic and where you're at.
No, very good. Because you're right. There's the initial cost, the time cost, and 2 years plus.
Yeah.
The opportunity cost because you're doing this and not that. So you're missing maybe in salary or some other options.
Crazy.
Well.
Like even for myself, like in the last few years, compared to what I used to just earn as a salary, less than a quarter.
Amazing, because you're building your business.
I'm doing something else.
Yeah, you're
like
investing.
So, you know, I'm lucky because I've got a decent savings cushion, but that savings cushion's gone down over the last 3 years, and like, not everybody's in that position, but those are the things to look at before you're going to make that leap. But on the flip side of that, I meet guys in the startup community that really fast do get some real traction and really do the dream. And when you look at it from the outside, you can see people doing that on paper have no real right to be doing so. And that's great. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
Like, people that are doing, like, he's becoming a friend of mine who's doing new things in InsurTech here in Northern Ireland. Startup company there in the Springboard program, but I met him before that. The guy's from a heavy lifting crane background, and he's working on things that are going to revolutionize car insurance. Like, he's, on paper, you've no real how does that all happen?
Yeah.
And the guy's doing a really good job, and I'd have a high level of confidence that he's going to do great with what he's doing.
That's incredible.
So that's the flip side.
Yeah, that's it. And you're so involved in the startup scene, and you're actually seeing.
Yeah.
You can actually probably see people walking into the wall before they know that there's a wall there, and you see the opportunities in as well, and what people are doing and converting and bringing it across the line, which is great, and growing and growing
and getting investors chasing after them and all that stuff. It does happen, and even here, a common complaint that startups would have is they can't get money. My challenge to that would be most of the time it's because you're not ready for money. If you've really got your business to a point where there's actually a low level of risk and it's got a high potential of success, believe you me, you will not struggle to get investors, even here in Northern Ireland. That's the case. It's more a case of, it's a real struggle for startups to get to that point, though. That I would totally wholeheartedly agree with. It's very hard if you have to put 6 months and spend some money to prove you've got a good product and you've got some traction. It's hard to get that bit.
Yeah, I would go from there. Incredible. So what's next for yourselves?
Well,
what's the future
for Third Digital? Real quest is to get, first of all, on the island of Ireland, to get really known as people to talk to if you want to do some software development. To be recognised as a credible source to come to for that would be my short-term objective. And we've 20 people in India right now, and I'm sure with the right set of clients and projects, we could have that up to 40 or 50 by the summer, and that's what I'd really love to get to that place.
Yeah, so
that would be great.
Very good, and new codes, and maybe even your own product then as well.
And and get that product happening too. That's definitely, let's not forget about that. The product is someone, we've had two products that haven't worked, one that we're still working on to see if we can get that to be a proper product market fit. If that doesn't, we'll still be looking for the other one. That's why we originally get into this, and it's still the objective. Yeah. But the nice thing is, this is really important. I say this to loads of people who are in startups. I'd recommend anybody who has product ambitions to do what I'm doing. Because I'm not working on one product startup. I'm working on 8 right now. Yes. And that's like an accelerated program. I'm not advising them or mentoring them, or we're in the middle of it. Yeah. We're in the trenches with those guys. Cool. Yeah, do you follow me? And you really, really learn so much so fast doing that. And when you really mean it as well, you're taking the knocks with them. We see so much in how we can help each one learn from each other. We're sort of a hub and spoke for that. But for ourselves, selfishly, we're learning so much about how to do startup better, that if it's not this product and it's the next product we hit a button on, it will be a sure thing.
Amazing.
As you can get.
Amazing. Excellent. So thank you very much for coming in today. So
it's a pleasure.
My final question, so if anyone wanted to bend your ear to get some advice on their startup, or to have some help or advice on software development, where's the best way to find yourself?
thirddigital.com, 3rddigital.com.
3rddigital.com. And we have a link below the video, and of course in the article in the.
Or you can reach me on LinkedIn as well.
Brilliant, and we'll get that below as well. So brilliant. So again, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed
sharing some of the problems that startups face, but it's still worth it.
It's still worth it.
All
right, thank you, Kieran.
And thank you for watching today. So it's Kieran from ProfileTree, coming from the Innovation Factory here in the Springfield Road in Belfast. And do check out our site as well. So we're the content marketing agency. Thank you, and see you tomorrow.